The number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
This is WFO Radio.
They pile off into the afternoon. Ashley's got cylinders out. Explosion for Salinas. Explosion for Brown. It's Tony Stewart. Stewart wins in a totally chaotic final. 387 to 317. He's broken through.
Tony Stewart's passion for the sport of NHRA drag racing is something that is truly undeniable. At this track, about a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, you got your first wallet behind the wheel of an alcohol dragster. It's almost fitting that the big one comes today here in Vegas. Tony, the struggles you've had, over the last year and a half, have almost made this even sweeter. What's the emotion you're feeling right now?
I think you sure as hell learn to appreciate it more when you struggle like that. But, man, I'm so appreciative of our guys. And like I said, we got Kevin Rudine and his family here. Race, you did this one for us today, buddy. This is all you. But it's the highest of highs and lowest of lows. Our Rush Truck Center's family, Rusty Rush, we lost his wife, Jenny, this week. And then literally 15 minutes before we rolled out for the final here, I got a message from Bakersfield, California, from a friend of mine, Brian Landgraf, and we just lost his father. So, I heard Dallas Glenn talking about it too. We've lost a lot of people this week, and it's been tough, but my God, I am so proud of our guys. Dodge, Direct Connection, Race Rudine Foundation, Renai, everybody at Mobile 1J, thank you so much. Just so many great partners here. I got a great teammate standing there. I have a feeling I'm going to be really hurting in the morning here, but it's going to sure as hell be worth it.
Congratulations, Tony.
Thank you.
Tony Stewart, the historic milestone happens in Las Vegas, the 4-wide nationals, and we await the champion as he is signing on as we speak. Hello and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're listening and whenever you're listening around the world. I'm Joe Castello, and this is WFO Radio. We're going to go inside this historic victory at the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Tony Stewart gets it done, wins in Top Fuel. He's doing the full digital media tour today, and I'm super excited to catch up with Smoke. We play in the video from NHRA on Fox, Brian Loans, Tony Pedregon, and Bruno Massel. Is not lost on anyone what a huge deal this is, and I'm very excited to speak with Tony momentarily. We're going to play some video from the ground level. We're going to present him with some questions from you guys in the audience, and I am just very excited that this has happened. It's taken just about a year in the Top Fuel Eliminator, a little over 20 races, not really that big a deal, but when you come in with the great expectations of a Tony Stewart and the name recognition and fans, frankly, back to USAC and sprint cars, to IndyCar, to NASCAR's Xfinity and Cup Series, to come to Top Fuel, people will ask, like, why is it taking so long? But that is kind of a misnomer in that it didn't take that long at all to come into the sport and run less than, I think, 25 races and win in Top Fuel, but they got it done. The expectations were high, and it happened at just an unbelievable event that is 4-wide, not traditional drag racing that is, exciting nonetheless. It's done twice a year. We'll do it again. It actually will happen 3 times this year. We'll do it again at ZMAX Dragway in 2 weeks, and just very excited to see how it all plays out. Now, while we're waiting for Tony to sign on, I might as well use this opportunity to ask you to share the show, subscribe on YouTube or wherever you happen to be watching, because we interview the winners in the NHRA Drag Racing Series each week. Of course, next week we'll be previewing the 4-wide nationals at ZMAX Dragway. Austin Prock gets the job done in Funny Car. Dallas Glenn gets the job done in Pro Stock. Greg Anderson was off the starting line first. It was amazing. I will mention the people who make it possible. Jesse Converters, the DPF XFit brand. We'll tell you a little bit more about all these guys later on in the show. But if you're looking for, over the road diesel catalytic converter replacement, a direct OEM replacement for your cat with all the clips and everything in the exact same location, Jesse Converters doing a great job. You heard a little bit about Total Seal piston rings and FTI Performance transmissions and torque converters at the start of the show. But also, you can hit up FTI torque converters for your street car, for your race car. Definitely an in the biz kind of sponsorship. CWT Industries, balance machines for machine shops. If you run a machine shop, you've got an old school balance machine, you definitely want to check out Randy Neal and CWT Industries because they've built the better mousetrap. Works quicker. It's easy to train. It is a money maker in your shop. HusseyPerformance.net. Not just copper head gaskets anymore. Hussey Performance, David Allen and the team, Beaver Springs, Pennsylvania. Everything is sourced right here in America. Everything is made right here in America. If you need it quick, they can turn it around quick, usually ship it out the same day or the next day. It's amazing customer service. And there's a lot of talk about made in America right now. And Hussey Performance never left. Did a great job. Congratulations to those guys on kind of seeing the future. Hussey Performance, not just copper head gaskets anymore. Bernie Speed Shop. This is Josh Hart's home company, over 100,000 square feet located down there in Ocala, Florida. They have got an amazing showroom. They've got an e-bike dealership, but what they are most known for is the most high quality frame off restorations you're going to find anywhere. And they do movie props from some movies. I wish I could tell you, but I can't because that's part of the high-tech secret level of Bernie's. But go to their website, check out their social media. And if you've got a future barn find that is going to go totally wasted, go to Bernie's and let them sell it on consignment. BURNYZZ.com. Bernie's Speed Shop. Gary Stinnett's Foggett brand, of course. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, where Smoke went and got his original licensing procedure. Marvin Rodak's coffeeandgrills.com, all helping out WFO Radio. But I see him down there. He's ready, fresh off his appearance out there on Sirius XM with Larry Mack and Danielle. He's joining us in the NHRA. Tony Stewart as a race winner for the very first time. What's up, Smoke? Congrats.
Thanks, man. It was something that I told somebody. I said, I kind of feel embarrassed about complaining about how long it took to win our first race, but you got to give me a mulligan on it. It's every form of motorsports I've ever been a part of. It never took me over a year to figure it out and win a race, except for sports cars, which Dale Jr. and I were leading with Andy Wallace 1 year at the Rolex 24-hour when we had almost a 2-lap lead with under 20 minutes to go and ended up breaking and losing the race. So except for that, we've had a lot of luck winning in our first year, and it just didn't happen last year. But man, are we grateful that it happened on Sunday. It was what an unbelievable experience. We had so many people. We had partners, obviously not a traditional partnership race weekend. We had the Race Rudine Foundation on our car, and Kevin Rudine and his family, great people. They lost their son Race when he was 25 to a fentanyl overdose. So, Kevin and I both own sprint cars in the World Outlaw Series and have been friends for years, and really proud to be able to represent them and their foundation this weekend at Vegas and really help with the awareness of what fentanyl addiction's like. So to have him on the car, to have so many of our friends. I mean, at one time we had 3 rock and roll artists in our pit. But Lake Havasu City, Arizona is really our home away from home. I mean, it's not my hometown, but it might as well be. I spend more time in Havasu than I do in Indiana now. And we had a lot of fans that came from Havasu just to watch the drag races this weekend, and had a bunch of our friends from Havasu there. So you couldn't have asked for a better situation.
Amazing. Now, well, so I don't think it took a long time, right? It's all about perspective. You want to put it in the context of 1 year. The seasons used to be 24 races. Now they're 20. I don't know how many Top Fuel races you have under your belt. I feel like that was the 24th. So it all depends on how you look at it. It always takes longer than you'd expect, but you did it. You got there. And for my money, the thing that's really impressive is that everybody on your team was hand selected by you guys. Like, you built this team based on, sure, resumes, but the character of the guys. I got some video of something that happened a little bit later on that I'll play for you. But that's got to make it a little extra satisfying that these teams were built originally for Leah, and then you took it over and you turned it into a race winner. You're doing real well on the points right now, by the way. Talk a little bit about that as you look back at it.
Yeah, it was two polar opposite scenarios when we started TSR Nitro. We obviously had Dickie Venables and Matt Hagan and that entire funny car team that had a proven resume. They had been together for years. They had gelled together. I mean, that was a turnkey program from truck to trailer and everything in between. I mean, it was ready to rip. Neil Strauss-Ball had the toughest job of anybody, taking and starting with literally himself and Leah, and then having to build an entire team. And not only build an entire team, but do it in a time when you couldn't get parts, you couldn't get pieces, just trying to get enough stuff. And thanks to Don Schumacher. I mean, Don told me, he goes, I'm going to make sure you have everything to at least build one complete car, race ready, ready to go. So he made sure that we bought enough parts from him to be able to do that. But it was hard. I mean, it was hard to find the parts just to build his backup car. So, but for Neil to have to sit there and pick a co-crew chief, and Neil didn't even start trying to be the crew chief. Neil had every intention to be the co-crew chief on the car, but we couldn't find a crew chief. And I think it's understandable to sit there and go into a new form of motorsports, and the industry doesn't know, how am I going to run a race team? How am I going to build a race team? How are we going to operate a race team? So I think it was a risk for a lot of people in their eyes to sit there and think about coming to work for us. But so it just kind of made it hard. And eventually the list that Neil had of potential crew chiefs, I mean, he got down so far in the list, he says, I think where we're at in the list, he goes, I feel like I can do as good a job as the guys that are on the rest of this list. So we gave him that opportunity. And I said, well, with that comes, you have to build your team. So I said, I'm going to be supportive of you. We'll talk about each guy and what the assets are and what the liabilities are with each guy. So, you're talking about race teams that only have 8 or 9 guys total. And with that, the smaller the group of people, the harder it is to manage, because personalities come into play. And, like our sprint car team, for example, we have 3 crew guys that work on that car. Well, if one guy has a bad day, that's 33% of your race team. Where when you go down to Charlotte to the NASCAR program, when we have 350 employees, you have one person that has a bad day, it's 1/3 of 1% of how it affects the entire program. So the smaller the program, the more those people matter, and their personalities matter. The bigger the organization, their talent still needs to be there, but the personalities, and there's not as many conflicts, it seems like. So to pick the right guys to be in the right positions, and pick that group of guys that will get along and work together, because they're traveling on the road together, they're traveling to and from the track together, they're having dinner together. These guys have to get along. But to start from scratch like that and build that from scratch, and watch Neil go through that process, I was impressed with his leadership skills.
And coming into 4 wide after having been runner-up last race out there, Lucas Oil Winter Nationals, kind of felt like there was a bit of an energy. You took the final round loss in Pomona. I don't know, a little tough. Could have been this team is moving in the right direction, but it was like, man, maybe we let one get away. And it was as if you carried that energy into this race. Can you share a little bit on that? I had some spies down there said, man, Tony was very unhappy about being runner-up once again in Pomona. And it looks like that drove you in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the 3 the 3 drivers that we beat to get to the finals, and it's like, man, we went through 3 of the biggest drivers and teams in Top Fuel drag racing right now, and you get to Clay and Rick Ware Racing, and they are right there at the bottom of that group as well. But I mean, to sit there and get to the finals like that, and we created our mistake, and that's what I was frustrated about. It wasn't that we lost on a good drag race and we just came up a little short. We took ourselves out of it when it smoked the tires. And I think Neil and I both, we talked about it at dinner Sunday night, and I was frustrated. I mean, it's like we the mindsets that Neil had and the mindset that I had were a little bit different. And that's what we talked about at dinner. And Neil goes, I knew they could run a 67. I said, Neil, yeah, they could run a 67 like they did in qualifying, but it took them 4 runs to do it. And if it didn't go down, they had 3 more chances to do it. So, I think our mindsets were a little different, but I was frustrated just because I felt like that's as close as I had been. I'd been in the finals before with Antron, and that day in Sonoma, we weren't a car that should have been in the finals, but we had luck. Doug went out. Sean Langdon went out. Both smoked the tires with us. got ourselves to the finals and weren't expected to win that. Antron was expected to win that, and we actually had a legitimate shot. Our car put 2 cylinders out, and we were right there with him until that. But going into the finals at Pomona, our car's going down the racetrack, and we put ourselves in that position, and then we took ourselves out of it in the finals. And I think that was the part that, as a team owner and being around motorsports as long as I have, when you get yourself in those positions, you got to find the ways to capitalize on it and don't take yourselves out of those positions. So, that's why the frustration was there for sure. But, I told the guys, we came back and we did the team meeting, and I told them, I said, all right, guys, the clock is starting right now. You got 20 minutes to have your head down. You can be mad, you can be frustrated, you can yell, you can cuss, you can do whatever you need to do for 20 minutes. When that 20 minutes is over, we're done pouting about losing this race, and we're going to sit there and focus on the positives that have happened since Gainesville, where we're at with our program, the gains that have been made, and we're going to get focused on going to Vegas. And that's exactly what this entire race team did. I even had probably a 40-minute conversation with Clay after he got done taking his photos. He was walking by our pit, and I went out and we had a great conversation. I think the world of Clay Milliken. You aren't going to find a cooler guy in drag racing than Clay Milliken, in my opinion. He just always has high energy and, upbeat attitude and friendly to everybody. So, if you got to lose to somebody, it takes a little bit of the sting out if you lose to somebody you actually like. But we were talking about it, and he kept telling me, he goes, it's coming. He goes, you guys are really close. And I think it's better to hear that from him than it is from my perspective. I mean, I can speculate and think that we're gaining on it, but I don't know if I truly have a read on how close we were to winning a race. But the people that have been in the industry for a long time, they see that and they know. And so hearing Clay say, we're right there, it's coming. He's not saying that just to try to get me in a good mood. He's saying that from the heart and what he sees. So I appreciated that, and I knew that we're going the right direction. But that you're going to have you got to have 3 or 4 rounds go your way. You can't have any mistakes. And you look at what happened to Doug Coletta. That's not what Doug Coletta does. I mean, that was just a freak mistake, but that's a mistake that we have to take those opportunities and capitalize on it. And we won that quad. That put us in the finals, and we went up against some tough race cars in the finals. I mean, Jasmine's got a fast race car. Antron's obviously on his game, and you're going up against the 2 best levers in the class with Justin Ashley and Antron Brown. So it's 2 good race teams, 3 great race teams that we lined up with, and 2 of the best levers in the sport. So you got to be on your game. And I didn't even I let myself down on my light in the finals, but it made me so happy because Neil won us the race with the performance of the car. And so I feel like on race day, we all had a hand in it. The guys did a great job servicing the car, getting turned around, making sure there were no mistakes. Went on a whole shot in round 1, and we beat Steve on the whole shot, but we didn't beat Justin on the whole shot. We just beat him. But that gets us to the finals. And then, I didn't have a terrible light. I just didn't have the lights I had all weekend and what I would expect out of myself. And Neil had the performance in the race car to win us the race. So it was truly a team effort. And I think that's what made me really happy about that. Even though I was disappointed looking back on it, I feel like it was best case scenario because it just meant everybody had their moment of that day on Sunday that got us where we ended up.
That's the thing about drag racing, though. It's just one time it's you, one time it's them. Sometimes it's both of you. Sometimes you're all at your best and you still lose. It's just a brutal sport. 71, 52, 82, the reaction times. But for my money, your 4th reaction time was the best reaction time. And you're wondering, fourth reaction time. Let's watch the video. Here's the video. Come on, video. Let me get this back because I've got this. There we go.
And they must have shot it at midnight.
There it is. We were about to get doused with a cooler full of ice. And you evaded it.
Hell yeah, that a girl.
Leah grabs the cooler.
The last time we
That is very much a missed attempt.
One job.
What just happened?
One job.
So
What just happened there?
Completely
We're
trying to do
standing
the
there.
water back.
Yeah.
we're standing at the car, and I didn't realize they were asking Books what just happened, but
yeah, no, this is my view, man. And I'll talk to Leah in a second. She comes over. She was very satisfied with what she did to you.
Oh, let's hear it. I want to hear what he says.
All right. Here we go.
Failed epically.
Epic fail. And then you catch a couple of beers on the head. Leah comes over. Here she comes.
Icy hot on the crotch.
You got him.
Oh, man.
Good job.
Oh, we tried. I mean, he's like, I'm not a rookie at that. But I think he was still just a little bit surprised.
Yes, he was.
I think we're all. I mean, it's a weird thing to say.
Hey, big moment right here. How big is this for you?
I don't think any of us have really just let it all sink in. It was in due time, and it happens to be the 4-wide.
Makes
His
it
favorite
good.
type of racing to get it done. Oh man, I'm gonna have a great 2 weeks. Tony's gonna be so happy.
Way to go, Leah.
Thanks, Joe, and everyone that follows.
Yes.
Are you that happy? Like now looking back, like is there a weight off your shoulders? Is there like a new vibe? Is this the start? Is that the end of the beginning? And now this is the start of the rest of it?
I think today we'll start that process. We mentioned it in Victory Lane. Well, let's go back to what happened. So Leah was in the front of the car with me, and somebody, I can't remember, it may have been Neil or a couple of the other crew guys were in front with me, and she took off running straight ahead. Well, I've been around drag racing enough, and we've had enough new guys come on the funny car team and on the Top Fuel team, and Leah's one that they've got the ice treatment. And so when she took off running, I knew exactly what was coming. And I hauled ass with her, and they didn't even get me the first attempt, but they got me with a couple water bottles after that. So yeah, my fourth reaction time was good enough to get the job done too, I guess. But yeah, that was fun. But yeah, I think on the rest of it, yeah, it's going to sink in this week for sure. And it started to on Sunday, obviously. I mean, I think the first thing that I thought of Sunday when it was over and we were there taking the pictures of just how historic in motorsports it was. I know in drag racing, it's one race and there's going to be a bunch of people go, big deal. You know, he won one race, so what? And they're not wrong. In drag racing, they're right. But in the big picture of motorsports, to win an IndyCar race and an IndyCar championship, to win 49 NASCAR races and 3 NASCAR championships, to win the USAC Triple Crown and win races in all 3 of those cars, and now to come over and do it in Top Alcohol Dragster and now in a Top Fuel car, no one in motorsports has ever done that. It's never been done. So to be the first to do something in the history of motorsports is pretty damn cool. And sure, there's other guys in different forms of motorsports that have done feats that are equal to that in different cars, but nobody's done it in IndyCar, NASCAR, sprint cars, midgets, all these different cars that we ran, and now add Top Alcohol and Top Fuel Dragster to it. It's just never been done in the history of motorsports. So that's the first thing that to me is like, holy crap, the significance of what we did was so far beyond just winning our first race in Top Fuel. It was, what did it mean in the big picture of motorsports? And there's a lot of people that it won't resonate with, but when you're in the trenches, and I've been in racing over 46 years now, when this is all you do is live, eat, breathe, sleep this, you realize exactly how significant it is. So to me, that means a lot to me. But you know, we heard Dallas Glenn talk about it in his interview, you know, losing someone in the last week and then having a partner that got injured in a crash. You know, we had literally Rusty Rush from Rush Truck Centers. We lost his wife last week. A good friend of mine, Brian Landgraf in California, that I bought an RC company from. We've been best friends for years. We lost his father. And I literally got that message 15 minutes before we rolled up to the staging lane for the finals. So Sunday, we go have a short dinner with the team, and I had to fly to San Antonio, Texas, and got there at 5:30 in the morning to be at Jenny Rush's funeral at 10 a.m. So yesterday was very exhausting. Literally less than 2 hours of sleep before I had to get up and start my day yesterday. But it is going to sink in. I promise that. Leah's right. It's going to take a little bit. You know, I think the biggest thing when after that moment that you saw with Leah, and when we got done tearing the pit down, and the funny car guys helped us tear down the pit, it just shows the one team, all team attitude that we have. But we had our team meeting, and the thing that I told the guys is that I'm happier. I think I'm genuinely happier for them than I am myself in this situation, because people don't realize that casual fans think that I'm the reason for the outcome of that car and what it's going to run. And I'm not. People that know drag racing realize it's the tuner, and the driver's job is to get a good reaction time, keep it in the groove, make sure you catch it if something happens that goes wrong, if it spins or shakes the tires, whatever the case is, the driver has to be ready to do that. That's my job. The performance of that car is strictly in Neil Straussbaugh and Mike Domagala's hands. So for me, having those guys,
Tony is frozen.
that was definitely the best part of winning that thing, was just to get the monkey off the back for all of us, to let Neil get a little bit of a break. And I told those guys in their meeting, I said, now we get to go to Charlotte, and now we get to just go race on the weekends. We don't have to feel like we have to prove anything to anybody. We've done it now. So we just get to go race and do what we want to do in the first place and take that added pressure off finally.
All right, let's talk about that. First of all, everybody wishing congratulations. I just want to shout out to all the listeners out there who are giving you, Fast Eddie and Craig, who runs Super Stock in the NHRA. Thank you for what you've done for drag racing. Everybody understands, like, this attention coming to the sport. You're bringing a lot of it because you were outside the bubble, and now you're inside the bubble. Randy Couture is going to run a pro mod car. Like, what's going on with drag racing? This is amazing. But I want to talk about Boyer. You mentioned him in the media center, that this guy, you know, he's dropped down at Michigan, wheel to wheel, 212 miles an hour. And you say he's afraid of these things. How cool is it going to be to go to Charlotte, of all races, where we're right there in NASCAR country? You've got so many friends and, you know, extended fam, and people can come out and see you as a race winner, not as a guy who's participating. That's going to change the dynamic. American Rebel Light Beer, the sponsor of the event, they're connected. Like, it's all worked out in such a positive way. It's going to be a great weekend. Just talk a little bit about those guys. And really, Boyer's scared? What's up with that?
Boyer's really not scared of much of anything. And Clint was there yesterday. We both were together, and I took him to the airport after the service was over. But, you know, even Kyle Larson, I mean, I remember Kyle came and watched us when I tested in with Leah's car when she was still running for Schumacher. And Leah asked him if after the run, he turned around and she was videoing, and she goes, "You want to drive one of these?" And he goes, "Hell no." So it's crazy. My buddies in drag racing, or not at drag racing, but NASCAR and sprint car racing, they think I'm absolutely nuts for doing this. And Boyer's one of those guys. They just don't know what they're missing yet. But it is going to be a lot of fun. I thought about that on the flight home yesterday. I thought, man, it's, you know, so many people. And like you said, we got such an extended family in North Carolina because of the NASCAR programs that we've had and been a part of. And so many people that are coming. It is definitely going to change the tone when we roll in there on Friday morning, knowing that we aren't going to be sitting there, that we're the previous race winner. And the format I'm going to, I love the four wide stuff. But it's definitely we're going to walk with our heads up higher, and there's going to be a pep in our step that we didn't have last year. And it's going to make for a lot of fun in Charlotte, no matter what the outcome.
And you're second in the points, and there's a regular season points championship check out there this year. So there's something worthy of going to get, and you're right in the middle of it. I have no doubt you guys will kind of transition from trying to win to whatever the next goal on the list is. Tony, thank you for making the time for us here on WFO Radio. Just super excited to watch this whole transition from you telling me in the winner's circle after runnering up in Vegas to Maddie Payne by like that much, that you knew what that distance actually was, to now at the same track getting your first Top Fuel win. It's weird how the cosmos works sometimes. Congratulations, and thank you for sharing this whole journey on WFO Radio.
Thank you. And all the people that have sent kind messages like that, especially from inside the industry, that means more to me than you can possibly imagine. So greatly appreciate that. And can't wait to see everybody at Charlotte here in a couple weeks.
All right. We'll be there. Enjoy the rest of your digital media day today. You're off to the next one. Later, Tony.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tony Stewart with us here on WFO Radio. They missed him with the cooler, guys. They missed him with the cooler. They had a shot, but now, you know, he didn't have to out Leah, but he did. She's the one who tipped it. You know, maybe she should have taken the cooler and just been there. Sometimes you gotta take it. All right, guys, put your comments in the comment section. We got a couple other things though, but I want to know, take us a moment or two to ask you, the WFO listener, to subscribe and click the bell. No, to post in the comment section, what do you think the significance of this event? NASCAR Man, at NASCAR Man on X, who's got a pretty substantial following, put a tweet up, and I want to give him credit because he did the work, and maybe there's more to the story, but the Cup Series, 3 championships, Xfinity Series, a championship, the Truck Series, ARCA, IndyCar Championship, Sprint Cars, Midget, Silver Crown, thus the Triple Crown, run 1 races in, but also the Triple Crown Championship, IROC, SRX, right? The Lucas Oil's Alcohol Series with the Top Alcohol Dragster, and now Top Fuel. The guy has won a race in all of those classes of drag racing. And he also talked about being so close in the Rolex 24, just coming up a little bit short. Like, that is the ultimate racing resume. When you add drag racing, the one that is not like the others, everybody else, it's such that you can make the car better. A great driver like Tony can make a good car better. A bad car, good. In drag racing, you cannot. And I really enjoy hearing him talk a little bit about that. Maybe it's a good thing or maybe it's a bad thing. That in drag racing, the best driver can only not ruin the run less than a poor driver, if you understand what I mean. Like, you're backing up from perfect. The car is going to be what it is. It's going to go down the track however it's going to go down the track. And if it goes, then the driver can have a reaction time as good as is possible. Is it a 40? Is it a 50? Is it a 60? It's up to the driver. How good are they? Obviously, 40 is better than 60. And then you got to get it down through there. Perfect would be right down the center of the groove with no corrections, no scrubbing, no speed. Don't get out of the groove. But the driver can only ruin it. The driver can only lose time against the perfect setup that is hopefully in the car. Now, if the car goes out there and smokes the tires, then there's not much the driver can do. They can try to pedal it and get down through there. If their opponent doesn't have that problem, there's not much the driver can do. But for Tony to go out there and win all 3 of his quads, to have solid reaction times and get some whole shot victories, and then go down there into the final, it is amazing. Now, I wanted to play this for him, but I didn't want to spend the whole interview watching videos with Tony Stewart. And the best one was Leah and he getting the ice bath. But let's check out the Joe's eye view of the entire final round. And you can see by where I was positioned what we were thinking the outcome might be. Check it out. Joe's eye view, Top Fuel final, Tony Stewart's first win. Here we go. How about that? That is the moment that everybody lives for. That is the moment that all the crew guys, whether it be Chris Afflerbach or Red or all of our great friends that are on that team who have come there to achieve something special. And, you know, it took a little more than a season. A little more than a season, 24 races. I believe that was 24th race for Tony. Just incredible. Let's see what you guys have to say out there. Dugenet Bland, honestly, it's no different than a football coach can call the perfect play, but if the guys don't execute, the play will fail. Absolutely. And you just never know. Sometimes there's outside influences. Joe, I think it's going to get NHRA drag racing great exposure now that Tony Stewart has won a race in Top Fuel. I believe that also. I think that this is now the beginning of the next phase. Yeah, sure. Tony Stewart is racing and drag racing. Anybody could go racing and drag racing, but can you win? That's the question. Can you win? Are you relevant? Are you just there, or are you relevant? And he was there and he was relevant, but now he has proven that he can win races. It's just a different dynamic. If I'm a Tony Stewart fan and I've got $100 to spend, I want to go see my guy. And I got my $100 and I'm walking in the line and I'm thinking to myself, like, what am I going to pay for? Am I going to pay for him to see him at this race? Or am I paying to see him maybe win this race? And up until yesterday, the win part, we didn't know if that could happen. Like, maybe it could happen, but it hadn't happened until it happened. Now it's happened, so it's more likely to happen again, if that makes sense. And if I'm a Tony Stewart fan from IndyCar, from NASCAR, and I liked my guy, not just the shape of the car he was driving or the speed it was going, suddenly I'm much more likely to go buy a ticket to the National Hot Rod Association to see my guy win races. I think it's very interesting. I feel like NASCAR might get a little nervous only because this could influence more to switch over. So I don't necessarily look at it like that, switch over. I have maintained fandom in multiple motorsports over my life. You don't have to switch. You can also pay attention to. That's what I would hope for from NASCAR people. Like, if you're a diehard NASCAR fan, also please pay attention to us, NHRA Drag Racing. It's just that. Also, please pay attention to us. If you're an IndyCar fan, if you're a Formula One fan, also please pay attention to us as opposed to only. And maybe this is what allows that to happen. And then once they're here, who knows? Maybe they decide this is more current. It's a bunch of short races. It's kind of like swiping, you're swiping through your scroll, watching a bunch of little videos, watching a bunch of short little form posts, the drag racing of motorsport. Maybe it's more current with today's youth in the sport of drag racing as things kind of come towards us, the fastest motorsport in the world. Did you see the t-shirt? AJ liked the interview. Randall Cap said, congratulations. The only thing harder than achieving the first win is the second. I don't know. I think the second win usually comes easier because now you can do it. There's always doubt. Look at Rory. Rory at the Masters. He almost broke down, but then he pulled it out, and now he knows that he's done it, and the pressure is off. Look at the way Doug Coletta has been walking around the past couple of seasons. He finished second last year, sure, but it's a different attitude when you don't have that pressure just pushing down on you. People always asking, what's going on and why? Those questions are now gone. And that is a huge, huge deal. Very interesting. All right, we're not done yet. Austin Prock won Funny Car. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Austin Prock's Funny Car win. We're going to do that after this.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Looking to replace your OEM diesel particulate filter or diesel oxidation catalyst? Look no further than DPF XFit, a complete line of aftermarket diesel particulate filters and diesel oxidation catalysts designed as an exact fit OEM replacement with all makes coverage for light, medium, and heavy-duty trucks. With thousands of units in stock, we ship the same or next day, and be sure to check out our comprehensive reverse OEM lookup tool. Always new, never remanufactured. For more information, be sure to visit dpfxfit.com. That's dpfxfit.com.
All right, the media center in Vegas was wild. Obviously, Tony, that was like a 25-minute bit, everybody asking him countless questions. But we did have two other winners, Dallas Glenn and Austin Prock, 2 stars of the sport. I saw someone out there a little annoyed, believe it or not, that NHRA is doing a press conference that's going to be starting in a little bit, like an online Zoom call with the rest of the media. And you just don't get it. You just don't get it. You don't get someone like Tony Stewart in and divide the time equally. You just don't. That's communism. You use the opportunity at this very first win to grow the sport as large as you possibly can. And I'm quite certain that a guy like Austin Prock and a guy like Dallas Glenn understand that if Tony grows the sport, they benefit. If Tony brings on new viewers, like today, Tony Stewart's social pages, and I welcome all those guys, have checked out WFO Radio maybe for the very first time, and they know that this is where you can watch the winners and the inside stuff of NHRA drag racing, like you're about to see. It helps everybody. We are in a situation where the sport of drag racing has got an unprecedented opportunity to capture new viewers, new listeners, new eyeballs, new fans to buy tickets to experience the greatest, most powerful, and fastest motorsport in the world. Why would we not capitalize? The Randy Couture story that a 6-time UFC champion is going to race in the NHRA in Congruity Pro Mod, and they're going to show off the car in Chicago. They're going to race. He's going to race in Richmond. He's got to go through the licensing process. But this man is wildly famous. Guess what? We're going to be talking to Randy as much as he's going to let us talk to him, because we want the fans of UFC who like this man for whatever reason, the way he acts, the way he looks, his talent, his ability. They followed him. They went to war with him. They cheered for him, to know that they can cheer for him again in a different capacity. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? And to the people who are like, Tony's getting too much attention for this win, you don't understand the sport that you're covering. But I digress. Let's go back to the media center and check in with Austin Prock. You're going to watch this bit, guys. Great stuff. Austin Prock dealing with the media, myself included, as John Force Racing wins another race, and the champ is on the board for the first time in 2025.
All right, joining us here in the media center at Las Vegas, the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, is your funny car winner at the 25th annual NHRA.
And the level is as high as it's going to go, guys, so just deal with it.
4.009 at 316 miles an hour to pick up his first win of the season, second straight in Las Vegas, 13th career win. And I know coming off a championship, you guys made some major changes. 3 races isn't that long of a drought, but I'm sure it felt like it. But to come back and have a race weekend like this after some early struggles, you guys dominated semis and finals. How good does this one feel?
It feels really good, man. You know, coming off the championship and then going to Bradenton for our, season test and the match race we do down there, and going to the final rounds and having a parts failure that kept us from holding the Wally, and then opening up in Gainesville, and just wasn't a great weekend. And, we've just struggled in Pomona, had a good weekend in Phoenix, but just couldn't put it all together. And it's like, man, you just want to hold one of these again. Like I said all last year, you got to celebrate these things like you're never going to win one again, because you don't know how long it's going to take. And we made a really nice run Q4, kind of got our stuff on the right track, and go up there for E1 and, essentially got lucky, but we were better than everybody else in the other lanes, and then made an outstanding run in the semis. And I figured we'd just go up there and repeat that. And we had a little bit of misfortune on thrashing in the pits, made a few mistakes, and, ended up with the result that we had. But once again, it was good enough than everybody else. So really proud of this win. It feels great to hold another one of these, especially the 25th anniversary. I remember when I was 25. I'm starting to get old now. Yeah, just an outstanding weekend for the team. We battled a lot of adversity all year long, and everyone just kept their heads down and stayed strong, and just keep picking at it. And when we fired this thing up in the finals, I could see on my dad's face something was wrong. And I was like, I better Cheeto chop the tree, because that's our only hope. And got a hold of it pretty good, and it was enough to win.
So your brother alluded on the starting line that you guys got away with one.
For sure.
What happened that equated to a got away with one?
We had a brain fart essentially, setting the mags, fired it up in the pits, and they were off from being perfect, and we wanted to go one way with the mags, and they accidentally went the other way. So then they were really off. But she hung on. I think it had like 3 or 4 cylinders out down track because that thing was doing anything but going straight at left nice and obviously slow because all the ignition isn't that right, but it was good enough to win. And that's the only. I said this morning after E1, I said if they're all ugly like this, but that blinking lights on, I don't care. As long as we're better than everybody else in the other lanes, and that's the name of drag racing. You don't have to be perfect all the time. You just got to be better than everyone else.
And a second question. In NFL circles, they always say that the good teams find a way to win, even on ugly days.
Yep.
Are you more of a believer of that than ever before?
I believe our team is great. We haven't had the success that we had last year, but we're still the same team, excluding one guy, and we got a young kid in there that shows a lot of potential. So, to get a win it's his first funny car win. To get a win for him and this whole Cornwall Tools team is really special. I think Kyle Larson won tonight, if my source was correct. So Mr. H, he doubled up today, and that's really special for all our partners. Sam. Yeah. I got a brain fart. I call him Long Sam.
So obviously these first 3 races weren't the Procks forgot how to win by any chance. It was because your dad wanted to find the further edge of the envelope. Can you talk about how you deal with that as a driver, knowing that the end will justify the means, but in the meantime you've got to not get the wins that you were used to getting last year?
Yeah, I mean, we expected. We always expect to show up and win. Everyone always asks, "What are your expectations?" Well, we want to go set low ET every round, and we want to win every race. So when we're not doing that, we're trying to get to that point, and we've been far from that. Like I said, our race car's been really fast and really quick and fast as it was last year, or even quicker and faster. Just that consistency that we've been missing, and he's been pulling his hair out over it. All of us have. It's hard to keep your head up when things aren't going right, especially when your expectations are so high. So for all of us to come together, and the first 3 qualifying runs, they weren't satisfying for us. Q4 showed a little bit of hope, and we just kept getting better and better. It's like E1, it was trucking right down there, but you sit around up there. We had that delay. The track got worse. It was really nasty down track, and that sure was fun to drive, though. That thing spun the tires at 500 feet, and I got to leg 13,000 horsepower black tracking for 500 feet. That was, you guys think doing a burnout in your street Camaro is cool. Doing a black track in a Chevrolet SS is even cooler with 13,000 horsepower. Yeah, it looked good for a while till it dropped cylinders, and it was kind of nasty.
Jerry Jordan kicking the tire spot in that. Congratulations on your win. You were at the top end when Tony won. What was his reaction getting out of the car? His first win in Top Fuel?
That was pretty cool. I think I was the first person he saw, and one of the reasons I'm at the point in my career is because of Tony Stewart. He gave me an opportunity when I was a lot younger than I am now, and allowed me to race out of his race shop at Tony Stewart Racing in Brownsburg, and got to race my midget out of there, and learn from some of the greats in the sport. Jimmy Carr and Ricky Warner and Michael Lewis. The names go on and on. Marty's out here. He works for Hoosier now, so it's cool to have him here. But I always had a gut feeling that when Tony won his first Top Fuel win, we were going to double up with him. So it was kind of cool to see that come through. Really proud of his team. Tony, he's outstanding in anything that he gets in, and all he needed was a race car close enough to win, and he could make up the rest. And he had a good race car under him today. Yeah. Force. He was talking about that last year, early in the spring, and I don't know, maybe one day it'll happen.
One more. What session was the issue that you were having trying to get down track? Which elimination run?
It started in Gainesville, and it's been ongoing since.
So it has never stopped. Oh, man, but bottom line, hey, you won this.
Yeah, no, they're working hard at it, and they're, these race cars are very difficult to manage going up and down the racetracks, and when you're struggling with your setup, and then you're going from track to track, conditions to different conditions, it's really hard to pinpoint the problem, and for them to work through it today, and finally, we got to a final round and got the job done. That was really special.
Austin, as the champion, we had that marquee matchup this morning. We get you guys up there. Freiberger's on the mic, and he said that
I want to know who picked that, because there was like 4 marquee matchups.
It was very tough. You want to know why I picked that? We have an algorithm because you're the champ, and champ's discretion, right? When we can get the champ on the stage to have a moment, why not?
Yeah,
and
I appreciate
the
that.
Tobler thing is also a byproduct.
Yeah.
But in terms of building the rivalries in the sport, like Freiberger said, he's been mentioning the Beckman car and trying to get a rise out of you a little bit. And you don't want to think about the other cars. You want to think about your car. But are you able to totally do that, not think about Paul Lee emerging and Caps, what he's going on? And as we try to create rivalries and make interesting storylines, how do you feel about all of that?
Yeah, I mean, there should be rivals in the sport, and I believe that we will have rivals in the sport, and there's probably people that don't like me out here, and there's probably people I don't like out here. But when I'm racing, you go up there, and I learned this last year, is you go up there and you function with no emotion. A rivalry is an emotional, connection, essentially. So for me, it's the easiest to just go up there and race myself and go up there and try and do the best job I can do every time. It doesn't matter what they do. All I'm worried about is me going up there and doing the same job every time and trying to be within a 60-40 range on the tree. And if I can do that, I'm happy with that, because I know this Prock rocket underneath me, it can carry that. If we get picked off and I race like that, out here, it's like, well, we had a good package, but, you're not going to get beat very often doing that. So Lanny McLizzy taught me that last year halfway through the season, and I'm riding with it. I love it. It just keeps it simple. And that's, I said this last year, this sport is it's a very few simple tasks. It takes professionals to do it, but in the driver's seat, I have a few things to do before I stand on the gas, and I need to be in the most perfect, clear mindset that I can possibly be. And when I stand on the gas, I got to react to what it does. These things want to do anything but go straight down the track, but if you're thinking about what it's going to do when you stand on the gas, you're going to make a mistake. You guys saw me in Q2. I almost crashed that thing. I've never looked like that in my life, but I rolled up there and I felt like I was a little bit aimed right, more than normal, and this thing left, and we were trying some things, trying to sort this Prock rocket out, and it left, and it was ugly. And me, I don't lift, until I need to lift. And I was hanging on for dear life. I've made runs like that, and it's hooked up and gone right down the track, and then you're a hero. But when you do that and you hang on to it too long, and then the parachutes are pointing at the wall and the headlights are on the Chevrolet SS are pointing at the center line, you kind of look goofy. But, you live and you learn, and that was the first time that thing got away from me out of how many runs have I made in this car. So I learned from it and, keep doing the same thing.
Austin, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
12.
Yeah. I had this thing sideways a few times today down track, for sure, first round. Yeah.
Austin, thanks a lot. Congratulations on the win today.
Thank you.
Austin Prock in the Media Center at the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. People are asking about the Silver Wallies because of the 25th anniversary race in Las Vegas. 25 years we've been going there. Just amazing stuff, and really appreciate it. Thoughts on Austin's when they did have that wild run? I love hearing him talk about how he did. He was wild sideways. That was maybe the most sideways he had been early in a run in his entire funny car driving career. But in the end, Austin Prock gets the job done. And I have to say, Paul Lee looking really good here in this season. But Austin gets the job done in the final round. Paul Lee, Matt Hagan, Austin Prock, Dave Richards. Also a shout out to Dave Richards and that team getting to the final round. Such a big deal for them. They get to the final round and they just continue their growth and development in the sport. Congratulations. to those guys. When you look at the point standings, Langdon is leading in top fuel. Tony Stewart second. Antron Brown third, 20 points back. Doug Coletta fourth, 46 points back. And the top five, you've got Jasmine Salinas, another racer that deserves just so much credit. What Jasmine Salinas is doing, people have given her a hard time. And what I would say is embrace it. To all of our drivers, like, you embrace it. Embrace the hate. If there's no hate, then no one's paying attention. It's what's worse than being booed? Nothing. Nothing is worse because they don't care. So if you're getting a little bit of hatred, a little bit of anger, a little bit of pushback, a little bit of questioning, that means you're doing something right, because it's a percentage game. It's about 100 people out there. How many people in the 100 are really nice people that are going to applaud you for whatever you do? And how many people in the 100 are really nasty people and they're going to, because they're going to crap on you for whatever you do. And then everybody else is in the middle. And that's what's up. Period. End of story. So Jasmine Salinas doing a great job. Funny Car Points, also 16-point lead. Paul Lee leads Jack Beckman by 16. Austin Prock by 21. Matt Hagan by 44. Chad Green by 88. And how about Chad Green? They just posted the video of Patty Lowe, who has been a part of 7 world championships in Formula One across 3 super teams, including Williams, McLaren, and Mercedes. Patty Lowe coming out and on the starting line saying nothing in the world compares to this about NHRA drag racing. And it's up on Instagram, and it's up on YouTube, and it's up everywhere you can see. Great job by Jason Galvin for getting that interview. But when it comes to third-party validation, like, I don't know what to think about this sport. Does someone I trust like it? Someone I trust likes it. If you can live your life in Formula One like that, like Patty Lowe, and then somehow come to an NHRA drag race, any other form of motorsport, and have that opinion at all, it is very impressive. Let's see. Daniel Wilkerson, Ron Capps, Cruz Pedregon, Bob Tasca, and J.R. Todd rounding out the top 10 in points. The whole top 10 is separated by 135 points. Remember that full season championship is going to change the dynamic. We'll move over to Pro Stock, where I think one of the biggest stories in all of Pro Stock was Erica Ender's DNQ, along with Troy Coughlin Jr. and Elite Motorsports being very in the valley right now. We've got to cover the story of who's in the valley, because when they come out of the valley, it is that much bigger a deal. But right now, it's still KB Titan. Let's watch Dallas Glenn. This one's a little shorter, guys. Again, the audio is maxed. That one wasn't terrible. It was audible, but we are going to work on cranking it up a little more. But let's hear Dallas Glenn after his big win over Matt Hartford in the final round. Dallas Glenn.
Joining us here in the media center at the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway is your winner of the NHRA 4-Wide Nationals in Pro Stock, Dallas Glenn, who won on a whole shot in the final round with a run of 6.649 at 206 miles an hour, 0:30 reaction time. His second win of the season, third Vegas win. Vegas continues to be very good to you. A great weekend for you. You win the Mission Challenge yesterday. You get the victory today. You've been in every final this season, 15th career win, on and on we go. But just take us through today, and how thrilled are you to end this with a victory?
Definitely really thrilled. Today was a very interesting day. I almost completely blew it first round. I was staging and when I fired the car up, my nose started to bleed. So I was dealing with that inside the car. That was an issue. Being in the desert here for like 3 weeks, I'm a little dried out.
Right.
And then somehow, I don't know what I was looking at, but I didn't see lane 2 stage, and just didn't go onto the 2-step until like right before the tree came down. And I was way late, just dead late, and got lucky enough with the horsepower to get the win. Still made a decent run. Going to second round, and the clutch pedal felt weird on my foot when I went onto the 2-step, and kind of overcompensated there. And then I go into the final, and then made sure that I held it down, and probably held it down a little too hard. And that's Greg definitely was on his way to earning his next one until the luck streak ended for him. But it's a good day. The car's working great. I didn't do too bad, but at the end, you only got to do good enough.
Right, absolutely. Bobby.
So was this a little nosebleed, or did you take your helmet off and look like somebody tried to murder you?
No, it was just a little one, but it was enough to be a little distracting, you know. Just a little one. I was just trying to keep it from running down my face inside the helmet.
This is as you were getting ready for the run?
It was actually when I fired the car up.
Oh, boy.
So as soon as I got back to the pit, I took care of that while I was doing the clutch. So yeah, it was a little interesting. So it definitely made second round a little less stressful.
Once the health problems are gone, hey.
That's a first for me.
Yes.
So what changes will you make going into the next 4-wide race?
I don't think I mean, obviously we're going to make, you know, some small changes going from the altitude here at Vegas to, you know, Charlotte at home. One thing that will be nice is I'll get to sleep in my own bed every night and cuddle up next to my wife and my dog. But no, I mean, the 4-wide, you just kind of go up there and you need to make sure that you just, you know, try to stay focused through all the chaos. Having 3 or 4 people all stage at the same time is very, very distracting, and it definitely catches you off guard. So you definitely have to stay focused through everything and just try to manage the chaos as best you can until you get to the final, and then you can kind of just throw the kitchen sink at it.
Classically in Pro Stock, going in second is good because you kind of know when you can mat it and you're ready for it. Is it just too risky to hang out there and going last?
Yeah, you know, if somebody else also wants to go in last, you know, at the same time, it's as soon as everybody's pre-stage, I try to get in first. But you know, if everybody has the same idea, then you know, well, then that's how you get 3 people coming in at the same time. But you know, I don't really, I tend to be a little bit of a slow stager because I want to be very careful getting in shallow. I want to try to get as much ET as I can and you know, not accidentally go red or anything like that. So I try to be very careful, so I always try to start early because I'm a little bit slow at it. And going in last is totally fine, but it's too risky with this many people. You know, if you look at the first quad of first round, you know, one guy took a little bit too long, and then it caught everybody off guard. So you know, you need to be ready for that as well.
To that end, 3/10 on the ET in that final. That okay, or is that potential, or did that leave you worried a little bit?
The
3/10 on your ET off the line in the final.
The 300s?
300s.
Oh yeah, being 30 on the tree. I'm not too worried about that. You know, I knew I probably just overcompensated a little too much from the second round, and I was good, you know, all day yesterday and decent through qualifying. And you know, even though it's not as good as I wanted it to be, you know, 30, it's still not a terrible light. So you know, I'll go into Charlotte, try to just make a few adjustments, stay relaxed, stay light, and just try to hit it as best I can every time. Go.
Dallas, after such a phenomenal year last year and then you come in this year so strong, I want to ask you a question about your past. Was Pro Stock where you were always going? When you were a kid, were you a Pro Stock fan? If so, were you a huge Pro Stock fan? And who would have been your favorite drivers? Who did you follow?
Oh yeah, I always wanted to run Pro Stock through the whole time I was, you know, running bracket races and running stock eliminator. It's interestingly enough, there was a local guy who was working on Warren Johnson's team, and I had been friends with him from the bracket racing days when he got hired at Warren. So I was always, every time I'd go to a national event running stock, I would always go and hang out with him and talk with him and talk with Warren a bunch. And you know, obviously it's hard to deny, you know, the KB Racing back then, Greg Anderson, Jason Line, you know, how fast and dominant they are. And, you know, Jason's a fellow stalker racer too. So, you know, it's kind of look up to a lot of them. And I would pretty much just bounce from pit to pit and try to talk with everybody. And then thankfully enough, I was able to get hired on at KB Racing and, you know, just kind of learn as much as I can, and then the rest is history.
Dallas, we talked about this before we started, but you know, you win the 1,000th year, a cool wally at that. You get the silver wally here. I mean, is it cool to kind of enjoy those kind of milestones along the way here? You know, 15 wins already in your career and 2 very kind of special ones.
Yeah, you know, like you know, the 1,000th NHRA race with the special wally. You know, you can look at that one. I think I have that one sitting in the middle of the trophy shelf. It's one that's a little special. I mean, obviously the first one's going to be, you know, a special one because the first one's always the hardest. But you know, to get these kind of cool little trophies and the extra things is, you know, it's a little added bonus. You can look at that one and go, you know, that, you know, I did that. That's pretty special.
Absolutely.
in the media center, we were having a discussion about how 4-wide kind of screws up stats. and traditionally, if a driver finishes third or fourth, they're declared a semifinalist. But in your eyes, when they reach that final quad, are they in a final round?
I've always believed that it's no. If your light doesn't come on for either blinking or solid, then to me it's not a final. If you don't get final round points and final round money, then it's not a final. That's just by the driver's opinion here. It is the technically final round, but to me, if you don't finish first or second, then it's a semi.
Dallas Glenn, Joe Castello, WFO Radio. Question: Elite Motorsports in a valley. They'll tell you right now they're doing a lot of testing. So with this regular season championship, and you and Greg having won all the races, and you're kind of his protege in a team car. I'll be very honest. How do we make this sizzle? Like the rivalry between you and Greg. Like, how do we hype this up so it's not just the KB guys, Greg and Dallas back and forth. Like, I know you guys talk trash to each other off the air. How do we bring that to the public and show the world, hey man, Dallas Glenn is really going at Greg Anderson and vice versa. I've heard him say very harsh things about you losing last year in the World Championship. He said on the golf course next day, tell that story. He doesn't get to win anything. So can you help us along a little bit with that situation?
Oh yeah, no, especially in the pits, him and I are. I mean, we both know that we're going for each other's throats. I mean, if you look, even when I was leaving the Too Fast Too Tasty interview here, he was coming in for his number one qualifier interview, and he punches me in the gut. About dislocates a rib. So I'm sure that wasn't his intention, but I don't think he would have been disappointed if he did. Would have been another little distraction for me. But we're both competitors. Even though we're teammates, we both want to win. That's why we come out. This is what we're passionate about. This is why we spend all the waking hours in the shop every single day, 7 days a week. So we each want to win, and I know Greg is probably really upset that something went wrong on his car, because I feel like he probably would have won if that not been the case, because his car is just insane right now. He's driving really well. He's 21 on the tree there in the final, but in the end, everything's got to come together, and this is why we don't race on paper. But as far as elite, being in the valley, we've been there. I've been there, and they're smart people. They're going to get it. And we just need to try to, keep going as much as we can and ride the wave as long as we can. I'm sure when, countdown time comes, it's going to be a battle between everybody. But, for right now, there hasn't been a end of the season, regular season championship bonus. And I've been the regular season champion for 2 years in a row. And I'm not about to let Greg take it from me on the one time that they pay.
Oh, that's a good finish. There you go. We'll talk there. Thanks a lot, Dallas. Congratulations on your 4-wide win here in Vegas.
Thank you.
Dallas Glenn in the media center at the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I'm loving what NHRA is doing, making those available to the media outlets out there, and being a part of it is great stuff. Final comments in the comment section, guys. Let's hear what you have to say as we talk a little pro stock. I want to shout out to my show mate on Patreon. For those of you who don't know, patreon.com. We do have secret shows that happen from time to time, including with Pro Stock Crew Chief Michael Heiner from the Get Biofuel Machine. Derek Kramer advanced to the second quad. We had Matt Latino on the show last week, and Matt Latino goes out there and goes right to the final. This kid, Matt Latino, 37, 19, 18 in his 3 reaction times over the course of the day. Not quite as good as Tony Stewart getting out of the way of the cooler of ice, but still, great job for Matt Latino. And the word on the street is that Matt Latino has secured some additional sponsorship for this season. So that is pretty exciting for Matt Latino to be able to get out there and do some more racing. This is the car, you're wondering, Matt Latino's car. That is the car that Camry won a couple of races in early in her career. Camry's race wins came, the one that was in Arizona was the car Matt Latino was in, and the final round she made towards the end of last year was in that car, from what I understand. And so Matt Latino, how about this guy? Matt Hartford. Great day at the races for Hartford. Runners up. They are so fast. That is what's going on right now. Matt Hartford and his team coming off that terrible, horrific, nightmarish year 1 season ago. Getrick's on board for this past race, Total Seal, and they are in a different mental place. It's just as simple as that. They know they've got a fast car, and Dallas got him on the starting line. Really, Greg was to win that race, had an engine problem in the final from what Dallas just told us. But Hartford able to get a runner-up, and you just got to keep building upon it. Points standings. Greg Anderson, 4 ahead of Dallas Glenn. It only makes sense. You heard me ask Dallas right there. How do we make this sizzle? How do we sell this rivalry? You know, the old guy and the young guy. Is it just that simple? Like all the old people root for Greg and all the young people root for Dallas? Maybe. How do we make it sizzle? But I have heard, serious, like they're not going to trash talk each other publicly because that's just not team atmosphere. They are a team. But at the same time, this looks like it's going to be what it is, guys. I don't know if Elite Motorsports is going to turn the ship between now and the U.S. Nationals, but maybe they will, and that's the story. Hartford's 160 out in third. Corey Reed, fourth, 181 out. Derek Kramer, 240 back in fifth. Mason McGahey, Jed Coughlin, the highest elite-powered car in the points, seventh. Eric Latino, eighth. Aaron Stanfield, ninth. Matt Latino, 10th. How about that, Matt Latino? Already in the top 10. Troy is on the outside. Greg Stanfield on the outside. Brandon Foster on the outside. What an investment Brandon Foster has made in the sport of drag racing. Jim Yates gave me a tour through their pit area, and I got to look at all the parts and pieces and everything new, all the new Sharpies, everything new, all the new rear ends, everything new. Really amazing. Brandon Foster, if you're looking for someone to root for, that could be your guy because he's new. He's a wild card. He's an X factor. He's going through this process, and he is serious about it. No joke. They're going to have a second car real soon. Erica, 14th in the standings. And let's key in on that for a moment. So in our WFO Radio group, we have a Facebook page. We've got a group. I encourage you at this moment, while I've got you on this topic, like subscribe to all our stuff. YouTube, click the bell. Project Pontiac video. The latest video is up, and I guess I posted it at the wrong time or something, and it's hurting for views, guys. Go see Project Pontiac get TBM brakes installed. It's a very fun video. There's even a dog. But we ask you to subscribe to all of our stuff. If you want to become a Patreon, that's up to you. I love it and appreciate it. We think we do some really good content that makes it worthwhile to your monthly deal. But in the end, we're active on social as much as we can be. And our WFO group is one of the places where it's kind of unbridled, unfettered, unregulated conversation. Sometimes it gets a little ugly, and we're trying to, we're trying to keep it civil. And so I'm going to have to go in there today and make some comments and ask people to be a little more civil in their discussions. But it wasn't that bad. But what's cool is that you get Erica Enders firing back at you. Like, why did we go from 17th to 20th? Everyone was asking, implying that some funny business was happening. Erica and team drove past the scales on the final qualifier because they knew they were bumped. And people were speculating, racers don't forget to go to the scales. No, they don't forget to go to the scales. They blew it off on purpose because what's the point? Why get weighed? We didn't qualify. Let's just get the heck out of here. It's been a disaster of a weekend. We didn't qualify the first time in however many races. And we're going to go to the scales and weigh the car? Who cares? Let's just go. But for fans to be, I don't know, so conspiracy theory oriented to try to look in, some of my friends, by the way, Mike McCoon and Harry and Dwayne, I got the guys that I know from bracket racing. They're like, why are you skipping the scales? Because we are not qualified. So we're going home. And every one of you guys would do the same thing. Every single one of you would do the same thing if you were in that position. I'm not saying I like watching them struggle, but what I do think is going to be cool is to see them now tested, to watch them tested again. Richard Freeman and the team, they're not going to just take this. They're not just going to fade off into that good night, are they? They're going to have to rally back. This is public competition. They're in the corner now. They're taking a beating. KB Titan is throwing blows. That's not really a fair analogy because KB Titan is in the spotlight winning races and Elite is just not in the conversation at this moment. What will they do to get themselves back into the conversation? Do you think it's going to be nothing? You think they're just going to take this and just that's it? That's not what's going to happen. We're going to have to see what happens. And that's what makes it interesting to watch. So if you don't like Erica, that's your business. You don't like her. But like Tony Stewart said, there's not a whole hell of a lot that Erica can do to pick that car up 0.04 of a second. They got to collectively go back and work, and they will work. And how long will it take? And the stopwatch is running. So we're going to go. I know Richard told me they're going to do a lot of testing. They're going to be checking on various elements. It is team-wide. It's not one car that's a little off. It's the whole organization. And, the switch to VP Racing Fuel from Sunoco. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's little elements all adding up to one big thing. But if you don't like them, you got something to root for. If you like them, you got something to root for. And to me, it's compelling and interesting. Simple as that. Let's see your comments in the comment section as we get ready to get on out of here. I do want to shout out to the rest of the winners, though. First of all, big thanks to Tony Stewart for joining us on the show. It was really a historic interview. AJ Foyt, Mario Andretti, the best of the best. You think about who has done what. But with this drag racing win, I really think Tony Stewart is in the conversation for most versatile racer of all time. You want to call him the greatest. You don't want to call him the greatest. That's your business. But he has had success in everything. And, think about Kyle Larson. Think about drag racing for a second. We got this big deal going on with IndyCar and the fastest motorsport in the world, side-by-side motorsport in the world. And NHRA's got new T-shirts bragging about being the fastest. I wore it last night on the Ignition Show. Kyle Larson, like anybody who will dive down into the corner at Michigan at 213 miles an hour. It can't be about fear. But maybe it is about fear. Accelerating 0 to 108 of a second. Dude can't relate. Just can't relate to that. Can relate to dropping down in the corner. Can't relate to accelerating that fast. They think Tony is crazy. I think it's awesome. I think it is an awesome experience. So obviously Tony Stewart, Austin Prock, Dallas Glenn win the race, but top alcohol dragster was Sean Cowie. Great job by Sean Cowie. Top alcohol funny car, A Star is Born, again and again. Madison Gordon, Maddie, was on the stage with us after her win, handled it so well, and Maddie Gordon announced as Ron Capps' top fuel racer. If you're WFO, if you listen to the show, just a reason for folks to maybe click subscribe, click the bell, share the show, get some gear, which is on sale for 35% off right now. You knew about the Maddie Gordon story like 8 months ago. Many, many months ago. Capps comes on. He tells WFO, we don't go spreading it everywhere because it's a bit of a secret society here on the show. You get to know. My friend AJ says the show's indie. I don't know if that's right. I don't know if I want to be indie, as in nobody pays attention. But we do keep secrets on the show. And when Ron Capps comes on and tells us that Maddie Gordon's going to be the person and they announce it 6 months later, I think it's a good reason to check out the show every week. But she does such a great job. One of my highlights from the weekend, on Saturday night, after qualifying was over, I walked through the pits and saw the Gordon family doing their service on their car. So I wandered into the pits, and, Macy and Maddie and Doug, and they're all there. Christine is there. Everyone's there. Grandparents are there. Everybody's there. And they're just doing their thing. And I just observed, and it was awesome. They're asking me about Project Pontiac and the race car. And they're as interested in Project Pontiac as I am into their car, which is crazy because it's a super street car. But they get it. They're drag racers. And that Maddie is going to go through this process. She's going to drive top fuel. I assumed that Macy was going to drive the alcohol funny car. She said, no way. She says, I love top dragster. That's what I'm going to do. So it sounds like Doug is going to get pulled out of retirement. We'll see. Taylor Chmisky wins Comp Eliminator. CIP1, Taylor, Blind Frog Ranch. Taylor's a friend. And for him to get his, first 2 wins now in Vegas, they got something going on for Vegas. Good job, Taylor. Chad Guilford, huge story in super stock. First win. He was a champ in 92, but that was like a good points total with no national wins, as I understand it. And he goes out there and gets the job done. Amazing. Scott Burton in Stock Eliminator. I didn't ask Scott if he scattered one down there. I didn't want to bring up bad things. But Burton gets the win. Chris Whitfield in Super Comp. Cooper Chun, runner-up. So Cooper, how many consecutive rounds did Cooper go in Vegas, winning the Spring Fling Million and then runnering up in Super Comp? That's wicked. Ken Mostowich in Super Gas. Lawrence Payton in Super Street came all the way from Pennsylvania, racing for his son, 001 in the final. He felt like there was a little cosmic energy going on. Larry, that's what it's all about. Congratulations. Brian Ward, top sportsman, Steve Willen, top dragster, and the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge winners, Doug Coletta, Dallas Glenn, and Spencer Hyde. Can we call this a big breakout race for Spencer Hyde? Man, this guy. Very exciting. Also, shout out to Jordan Vandergriff and Courtney Enders for joining me in the broadcast booth and doing some solo announcing, calling Lucas Oil Series competition, not just interviews. Honestly, that's the easy part. Calling the Lucas Oil Series, that's the hard part. And Courtney and Jordan both joined me in the tower, and we called the stock eliminator and super comp, and they both did a great job. Courtney did an excellent job on the top end. Jordan doing a great job on NHRA on Fox. Freiberger doing a great job. Everybody doing a great job. Super excited. All right, final comments, and then we'll get out of here, right? Can't wait to see Randy Couture in a pro mod. Me either. This guy is massive. He's got fans from around the world that don't even know that drag racing is a thing. They don't even understand that drag racing is a sport that exists. Many of them. Some of them certainly do. But the idea that Randy is going to get in a car that accelerates from 0 to 250 miles an hour in less than 6 seconds and continue his competitive career. He's not going to be fighting anymore. But the competitive fire burns. What can a person with a extreme competitive fire do as their body gets a little older, not old, but older? They can't do what they did, but they still want to compete. What can they do? Well, you're not going to be a competitive bowler or golfer. You would have needed to have started that when you were a teenager if you're going to get to the highest of the highs. But when it comes to drag racing in particular, you can be trained by the right people to do the job, and you can learn as best as you're capable of doing. But you can then take that knowledge and understanding into, your 50s and even 60s and compete at a high level. Is Randy going to be able to do it? Like, we're going to have him on the show. We've already been told he'll come on WFO, so click the bell. How exciting is that going to be to watch him in the Congruity Pro Mod Series? It's going to be awesome. This guy says, great addition, Freiberger. Poor Freiberger, right? He's got to put out an apology to his fans. Like, I'm sorry, guys, I can't stop and sign every autograph, And yes, I will concur. Not that anyone's asking me for my autograph, but there's very little time when you're working NHRA on Fox. There, you go here, go there, find this story, find that story. Next up, there might be some time, but if you catch him at the wrong time, you're not going to get the autograph. Please don't get upset. Freiberger's done a great job, I think, my opinion, right? What else? Spencer Hyde will win a race this season. Maybe 2, for all we know. Freiberger sounded great. Let's see. Just wondering if Mike Salinas is going to race. Miss him. So Mike was on the starting line all week this week. I saw him every time. Jasmine did a great job. I don't know. I did not go ask him. I should have asked him, but I didn't ask him because, I feel like, I don't want to say what's the point in asking, but I think my brand is that I give the racers space. Mike Salinas wants to get back in a car. And we know that there are great challenges. Like, what are the great challenges? The greatest challenge, the hurdle to participation, I think for Mike Salinas, is crew guys. They lost several crew members on Jasmine's team during this offseason. They had to scramble. Aaron Cave went over to Coletta and they lost some guys. And so you cannot just replace those guys. They had to scramble to fill their team, and they did. Really, one of the miracles of the offseason is what Scrappers Racing has been able to do to fill the roles of people who have left. Rob Flynn bringing on new guys, and they're running better than they have run. Now you need a second team. And is that a smart move? Maybe Mike wants to race. Is that a smart move for Mike Salinas when his daughter is finally, like, we'll call it breaking out and feeling confident and having great reaction times and winning races, to dilute the talent pool on the team and cause focus to be shifted to himself? I don't know. I don't think I would do that. As much as I wanted to be in the race car, I think that might be detrimental to Jasmine. And people say it all the time. Oh, they're professionals. They're professionals. Nothing bothers the professional. The professional can handle everything. And that is totally not true. And I fight against that all the time. You can be distracted. You can have lack of resources. You can do something that will damage your own team by taking the focus off what is important. And right now, what's important is for Jasmine to win a race and finish in the top 10 in points and battle for the countdown and continue her development as a driver. That's what Jasmine is up to right now. And Mike has already been very successful in his life, in his career, clearly. He's a wonderful guy. But at some point, if the decision has to be made, it's about Mike or it's about Jasmine. What should Mike choose? What would you choose? I wonder. And so every time we see Mike on the starting line, my opinion is, and I'll ask him next time I catch up with him, when the time is right, I think Mike is choosing Jasmine. I think he's choosing to do what's best for the team. And in this sport, the hardest thing is finding crew guys who can go over the road, who will live their life on the road, CDL, all that stuff. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, guys, appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. Again, big shout out to the people who make it possible for me to go WFO, like Redline Oil. Appreciate Redline being on board with WFO Radio. We are thrilled that Redline is on with us. We're going to tell you a little bit more about Redline Oil as time goes by. Water wetter. Like, if you want to do the simplest basic thing to support WFO Radio, go to any auto parts store and get yourself some water wetter for your cooling system. It's just that simple. Appreciate it. PowerTube TV has announced that Bruno Massel is the new host of Pinks. That is kind of a cool thing. Right Trailers. I think about all the Project Pontiac stuff I'm doing. 833-31 Right. How far I would be behind where I am if not for Michael Scott and Right Trailers and what they did for Project Pontiac. Appreciate those guys. Speaking of Project Pontiac, you can get your gear 35% off. WFO gear available online. The link is in the chat. If you're going to go to Summit Racing Equipment, order yourself a can of Foggit. It is a high-quality lubricant spray that is designed to protect the inside of your racing engine, the cylinder hone, the finish, from horrific corrosion that happens every run when you shut the car off, when you put it away for the night. Foggit.com or SummitRacingEquipment.com. Marvin Rodak, 817-924-6821. Call Rodax, get coffee. Simple. Call Rodak, get coffee. 817-924-6821. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. You can drive a dragster. You drive. That's what Tony did. And look, he's a Top Fuel winner. Bernie Speed Shop, Hussey Performance, CWT, FTI, and of course, Total Seal Piston Rings and Jesse Converters. They make the show possible, literally. Without these sponsors, I can't sit around and chase drag racers all day. And today, it was Tony Stewart. Congratulations, Tony. Thanks for coming on. WFO, guys.